association or other entity shall investigate any failure to comply with his prohibition, and the penalty for non-compliance shall be ineligibility to participate in any playoffs. So, so we've got to come up with a way that we want to handle this. And Matt, who is a lawyer and is way smarter than I am, has graciously said that he could chair this. And so I'm just going to pass this along to Matt and let Matt lead us on coming up with the process. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you, Matt.
Yep. Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, so I've been through this process for probably the last 20 years in various forms, universities and high schools. So, I mean, times have changed now, so there is people looking to make necessary changes. I would suggest that we would, if you want to gather the input of the community, which would be first the students, and that's something that the school would have to help us with because we don't have their emails. And then we could set up a process where we try to get some input from alumni. Just a yes or no if they want to keep it or want to get rid of it. And also, I could reach out to various indigenous groups in the city of Chicago. I think we've already heard from a number of them, the American Indian Center, National Congress of American Indians, and have their say as well.
And what have we heard from them, Matt?
Yeah, I know we have, so.
No, but what have they said or what have they asked for?
Well, both the American Indian Center is going to be for changing the mascot, as will the National Congress of American Indians. That's been their stance for decades.
Okay.
There is outside psychologist groups that would be supportive of the change. The NAACP, pretty much any civil rights group that you mentioned is going to be in favor of the change, and they've been in favor of this for 20 some years ago. Yeah. So there's numerous resolutions and studies on this issue, and yeah, I can tell you my personal view on it if you guys want, but if you want to save that for later. But
I think you're qualified. I'd like to hear your view, Matt.
Okay, so
first, though, I would just like to remind all of us. I mean, I do want to hear your view, but we are an elected board to represent the parents of the students of the school. And Maureen and Anna are elected to represent the community, and Katie and Dan and Dee Dee are elected to represent the faculty and staff. So I would like to hear your views, but I also really want us to remember that our job is to make sure that we're representing the people who elected us.
Yeah.
Which not all elected people do all the time, but I would like us to remember that, please.
Yeah, and we'll have parents that feel both ways. I forgot to mention I also would like to poll the teachers and the staff for their views as well, just their working environment.
Before we get your views, which I totally respect and happy to hear, can we just finish off the process piece?
Yeah, so the process piece would be a way to poll a student body. I know it's difficult because we're not in school. Usually when this occurs, school's in session. And you can have large community meetings because you can have it in the school gym or school auditoriums, but we're in the post-COVID world, so we're not going to be able to have any large gatherings or even small gatherings over this. So a lot of this is going to have to be done computer-wise. It's going to have to be done on Zoom meetings. And I'm happy to sit in however long it takes for people to have their say.
And we certainly can have Zoom meetings for these meetings. They've been set up as a webinar because at our LSC meetings, besides the public participation, it's just, we're the only ones that need to be talking and people can chat in, but for this process, we would have open Zoom meetings, not as webinars, so people could have their 2 minutes to speak.
So do you want to talk about how we can go about the process, if we can agree that we should get input from the students, the faculty, the staff, the community, alumni, indigenous groups? That's usually the general process. And then, as Emily said, it falls on us to make the decision. And you know, I respect what how everyone's going to vote. We'll all vote after weighing the evidence and go from there.
Yep.
Okay.
Do we have a time frame? I hate to be such the.
Oh no, but it's, you know,
But that's what
as
I
quick
do.
as we can to get everyone's input. Again, it's difficult because it's going to have to be by computer. It's going to have to be by Zoom.
So do we want
emails.
to do some kind of frame of reference depending on what happens in September? We'd like to gather inputs September, October. And it doesn't have to be set in stone, but just to give a general guideline, or do we not want to do that?
Also, too, when do you think the House bill will go through? Is there a set time for that too?
But
I mean, the legislature moves at the
Yeah.
pace that the legislature moves at.
They're on session.
Yeah, I just took a peek at it while we were sitting here, and it looks like nothing's happened since 2019, like mid 2019 on this
Yeah.
bill. So I don't know. Matt, you would know better than me on
Yeah,
this.
and they're not in session now, so.
Yeah, it's just been hanging out. There was a first reading, and that was it. And then I got sent to committee, and it's just been sitting.
But they've added some co-sponsors as recently as July 2nd.
I think we should move forward quicker than that. Like, do we even
Yeah.
start and have it somewhat complete by school start or by mid-September, September 15th?
Or we can take all of August and have it ready before school starts.
Right.
Or maybe the first meeting is September 17th. Maybe we
I
should-
mean, I think as Emily said, we're gonna have to this may require a number of special meetings.
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying in terms of like a date to have a vote, I guess. It requires action.
Right.
That would be a good benchmark for us.
Yeah, no, I think, I personally, yeah, let's get some dates in of sending a survey to the students. I mean, that's what this meeting is about, is trying to figure out when we want to do that, and setting the public meeting idea, you know, the dates for that. So, and
Yeah, so, you know, let's get the survey out to the students and the staff and the faculty this month. We could have set up some Zoom meetings for August.
And really, in a way, do we need community meetings, or we put out the questionnaire and we kind of tally the results and then have one public meeting about it?
I think, yeah, it could be both. We can send surveys out. I mean, sending a survey out to the students is easy because we have their email address.
Right.
I mean, I don't know if we can set up an offline survey where people could vote yes, no.
Can we do a Survey Monkey and you put it on each Facebook page to get the parents and community? I mean, the people who are invested in this, they're going to find the links for this.
Yeah.
To give their input.
Yeah, we need to get the contact from the Alumni Association to pass this to their members as well.
I mean, they can definitely alert their members to it. My understanding is not every alumni belongs to the Alumni Association.
Right.
So they could
And
they
they
could post
have-
it to the surveys can be on our Facebook page. People can vote there. I don't know if you can set a survey up where people aren't voting 100 times.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, that was one of my concerns, is how do we keep the
Yeah.
voting,
Well, Survey Monkey.
integrity of the voting? And then actually there's a question too, with respect to what one of the participant or attendees asked a question, how are we gonna define community members? I mean, does someone need to have a sort of a vested interest as either a student or a parent or a staff member, or a teacher, or alumni, or can anybody vote? And I guess that's the question that was posed.
They also brought up privacy, and I think as a group, part of our process should be to respect privacy and input on any survey that we give it. Unless somebody chooses to speak publicly, I think we should make that part of the process, keeping things confidential.
Yeah, except that if people,
So we could share the results, but not individuals who said
Of
what they
course.
voted, how they voted.
but of course, if people choose to speak at a
That's what I just said,
Zoom
yeah,
meeting,
unless
yeah.
they choose to speak in public.
But I think we would probably have to have people put in their email.
Well, we would, the point is you don't share it publicly.
Right, no, but I'm just saying,
I mean,
as-
not share it,
as-
but if we had to reference, yeah.
right. No, but I'm just saying, so that way, unless someone's gonna create 100 different emails, if they put in their email, we can sort it by email address to make sure
Well,
that.
it's Survey Monkey, they do it based on IP, so yes, there are ways to circumvent that, but there are also ways that the tools are set up to filter things like that.
All right,
So do we want to like set a time frame for a survey to students? August, mid-August, will we get their attention, or is beginning of September better? I don't know. And then alumni, like the different groups, and then how we want to reach them and set a target date.
So I did want to also chime in about what the Office of Equity emphasized, is that if this process is to move forward, that the community of impact are current students, and so their voice is to be taken into consideration the most.
Fair enough.
In terms of educational impact, to make sure that nobody feels that this process makes sure that everybody feels included and no one's excluded.
So let's nail that one down first.
and I think it's also important because a lot of people have been asking, so what's it gonna be? Assuming that the vote will be to change it, people have been asking, then what will the mascot be? And
That would be a whole other process.
yeah,
if we
that's
get that to
right.
that point.
That's exactly, that's what I want to explain, that first we have to go through this, and then that's part 2 of the process of, and there's also been a lot of suggestions to just keep it, if we choose to get rid of the Indian, to keep it just Lane Tech School of Champions and not have a mascot. So but then there's also kids that want geese.
No.
So there's a little bit, or the snapping turtle, like there's just stuff all over the place. But that's putting the cart before the horse.
Okay, so we want to reach the students. They, according to the CPS, whatever department it's called, we have to really consider them and make sure that we fully understand and, respect what their input is. So what are we doing with students? The school could send it out, survey.
Well, someone just put on the chat, as a parent, I prefer that the survey sent out to parents via the school communication.
Well, let's
And
nail
I
down
agree with
students,
that.
and then we could do parents.
Yeah, well, to do it in the school communication, we could have
If we
Karen?
sent it to students, then it goes to it's one per student that is entering. And then in a sense, the family votes through the student. So if there's two students in the household, then they would have 2 votes because there's 2 students in the school, as opposed to parents voting separately from students. It really depends, Matt, how you define community. I'm going to leave this to you. I'm just saying that we can send it out. It should be LSC designed. The school will just be the vehicle. So,
Right.
What we could do tonight is just come up with a small committee with Matt being the chair, of coming up with the survey, coming up with the timeline and the methodology. And then, so we can either hash it out now, all those details, or having a subcommittee to do it, and then having a meeting, an LSC meeting to approve that process that the subcommittee has come up with.
Yeah, so I can come up with something. We can have another meeting next week to approve it and then send it out in July.
I mean, I like the idea of having time offline to create a plan that then we present in a public meeting and vote on in a public meeting. I think we can talk here, but I think it really is going to take more than the amount of time we have this evening to really nail down what the best thing is. I'm reading the comments kind of as I'm going. I think there's a lot of good points that are being made in the chat. And I think it's a good opportunity to sort of take a week and then come back with a more solid plan. So that would be my agreement on that.
I agree.
Yeah.
Makes sense. There's a lot of good feedback in the chat about ways to approach it, Matt.
Yeah, I'm assuming we're reading it now.
I know there's one comment that says that suggesting that the LSC should approach this as a moral question rather than a data collection and analysis exercise, and that we should make the decision. But as you mentioned earlier, Emily, we are representing our different stakeholders in the community, the teachers, the faculty, the parents, etc. So we do need to go through this exercise and get all the information from all the respective parties.
Yeah, Ben, you bring up, so the Office of Equity actually required us to get community input. That we have to design the process, but we have to have community input in order to be able to go through the process.
And I guess from my perspective, the moral question and the data collection are not mutually exclusive. I think we can weigh both of those things. And I think a lot of those moral implications are going to come throughout the process as we collect data and also as we have public comments. So I'm optimistic that we will not lose sight of that point.
Correct.
And see, the parent of the new LTAC kiddo, if your child was a CPS student before, they should have a CPS email. And I assume once they were accepted, something's set up for that, but I don't know quite those logistics.
Yeah, I'm not sure of the process because that's a central office process. We don't assign emails.
No.
And just to be clear, I don't know, there's some comments. I think I don't know when this person joined the discussion, but the majority of this discussion has been that absolutely student input is very important in this process and it will be gathered.
Yeah.
Yeah, Michael, I'm not sure that was my earlier point, is that we have to have student that actually by definition is of utmost importance. So I'm not sure if you missed that point earlier.
Yeah.
And we'll give the students the opportunity to have their voice. They may choose not to. So it's, we had elections for LSC rep for the students, and out of 4,500 kids, 60 voted. So.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree also with Ann. I do believe that any moral or overarching things will come through the process and will not be forgotten, of course.
Okay. So next steps.
Sounds like we need a group for Matt.
Yes. Matt, do you want to?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm actually willing to help out if you need help. I have time right now, so.
Okay,
I'll help out, Matt.
great.
I can help out too.
Thank you.
I can too.
We have to be careful though, right? How many people are we allowed to have?
Oh,
Yeah.
So if you guys are gonna meet at, it should be 3 under 3 or 3. Anything more than that, then you have to meet publicly.
So,
Well, you know what?
You guys, 3 should be enough. You could
Yeah.
get the framework
I don't
together and keep everyone in the loop, and we'll update the public.
Right. So just to be clear, nothing is going to be decided other than like designing the survey that we will make sure that the students are able and the community is able to participate in. So I just want to make sure that everybody that's present understands that what we're talking about is literally trying to get something together, the working group, in order to present it to the LSC so it can be presented openly and then voted on and then implemented and then gathered and then move forward.
Yeah, and there'd be an opportunity when the plan was presented for there to be public comment similar to what we have right now in the chat, so that if there was suggestions or amendments, we could make all of those before it was voted, but at least we'd have a plan.
Right. So this is to establish a plan, next, how to gather input and corresponding dates,
Yes.
not the vote.
Right.
no,
So do you think 2 weeks to come up with a plan?
1 week.
1 week?
Yeah. I think 1 week.
All right. So,
So we'll need to set a meeting for July next week.
okay. So, and it's going to be Matt and Ann and Maureen? Was that?
Mhm.
Yep.
Yep, that's fine.
All right. So looking at next week's, I am available any day except for Wednesday.
So be
And
an evening, right?
So this would be to meet to vote on the process that this committee is going to come up with. So would people be able to meet a week from today on the 14th?
Yes, I can do that.
I can.
I can.
Anyone who can't?
Yeah.
I guess that's,
Yeah.
I'm going to be in the mountains, and I don't know how great the Wi-Fi will be and the connection will be, because we'll be pretty remote. So if I do have a connection, I'll let you know either way.
Okay.
But I'm happy to hop on quickly if I have
Okay,
if I have
but-
Wi-Fi.
but so it would be any day next week. So there wouldn't be one day better than the other.
No, I'm gone the whole week, so whichever.
Okay.
And actually, I was wondering, Ben, do you think it makes sense for you to be on the working committee instead of me, since you are also an alumni? And so in terms of just kind of coming up with a plan, we have an alumni, we have a former parent / community member, and we have a parent. Does that make sense?
I'm
Ben,
fine with
I
that.
don't want to put you on the spot, but I was just sitting here thinking in terms of creating a group that could hit all of the bases, that maybe you would be a better fit than me.
Well, this group is just to figure out the process from the surveys.
Right. I just maybe thought you had, yeah, I mean, we can figure it out, but
Yeah.
okay.
And I actually think that's a great idea. And I also think that it makes sure that there's representation of voice within the process at every level.
Yeah, also because you know how the communication in the alumni groups work and maybe would have sort of a ability to suggest better ways to reach out to the alumni group as one yourself.
Got it.
Your call.
Ben checked so many boxes, being an LTAC parent, being having one that's graduated, one that's here, being an alum.
But a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stakes are high.
So what's the title of this committee then, the formal title?
Mascot committee. How about that?
Can we not use mascot? I got to be honest, the name mascot, and can we just say symbol at least? I mean, mascot represents that there's a person or a thing that moves around. Even while we're looking at this, I would like to be as respectful as possible.
Symbol adjustment was a suggestion.
So symbol adjustment committee?
Lane symbol committee, how's that?
Fine.
That sounds good. All right.
Did we decide, Ben, are you going to take my spot or do you not want to? I'm not to put you on the spot, but I just want to make sure I get it right in my notes.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Okay.
Okay. So do I need to make a motion to form the committee?
Yeah.
Okay. So I motion to form the Lane Symbol Committee with Matt being the chair, the leader of it. To
Oh, who's going to be the chair? Who's going to be the secretary?
well,
Because
since there's only three,
they're three, they don't have to.
they don't have to have open meeting.
Okay, so there's a really great point about adjustment being a terrible word in terms of the committee. Can we just have a
Yeah, we just said symbol.
yeah, and it can just literally be an action committee. It's like,
Right.
an intended action committee, and that's literally what it can be called.
Okay. So I motion to create a symbol action committee.
I second.
Composed of Matt, Ben, and Maureen.
I'll second.
And Laura,
Who is the second? I'm sorry, I heard someone second it, but I didn't.
Laura, I think did. Oh,
Oh, Laura. Okay, thank you.
all in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? All right. So, and then we will meet again on Tuesday, the 14th, July 14th at 6:30.
Yeah,
6:30 or 6 or 7, what?
I can't do 6.
Okay. 6:30?
6:30 is fine.
I also saw a comment about getting sort of input from someone who has expertise in the area of surveys or data collection. And I think if someone wanted to, and I could do this, but we could reach out to Julie Kaufman, a former LSC member who does this as a living. And I think she might be able to give us her 2 cents in terms of how to create questions that would elicit the information without having any bias.
Right.
I
That'd
think
be
it's
great.
pretty much a yes or a no answer.
Yeah. Do you want to keep the symbol? Yes or no?
Or do you want to change the symbol?
Yeah.
Agree.
We don't have to get to,
Right.
because that's really, unless,
Yeah, it's not are you very
We don't do-
satisfied, somewhat satisfied?
yeah, and we're not we're not making any more movements until it's agreed that we need to make any more movements.
Right.
Okay. Is that, are we good?
Somebody just asked that
Still
question.
getting questions or chat comments.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
What's the question?
Michael, I think that all the questions in terms about the process are going to be more understood next week after the subcommittee actually presents the process for the vote.
Oh, hello.
Yeah, I think we're separating these issues out because we need to be able to understand if there's going to be a change, and then we would have to handle, if there is, that would be another issue after that. But first we have to handle the first issue.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Right. And there's all sorts of layers to that. Most of the sport teams have removed the Indian from it. The school store will no longer have, by the end of the month. I don't know if Cindy is on here or not, but she
I
said
just
something.
sent the link again.
Hmm?
I just sent her the link again. She was trying to get on the first meeting, I believe.
Okay. Well, she said, she told me earlier this week that there was something like 80 orders online right now that she is trying to fulfill. So, oh, Lisa's on. Yeah. But she has a lot of Sydney's been running the school store from her basement, basically. And then admin has been very kind to bring items out for her that she doesn't have in her basement, and she's been shipping them out to people.
Just commented they have 140.
140 orders to fill. So, yeah, the question is, should we continue to sell out the current gear? But I believe the Friends of Lane email went out to people saying that it would be available. And as Lisa says, many alum would like them.
Well, also we haven't taken a vote yet.
Right, and we haven't voted to get rid of it. So, but I think we do have to shut down the store at some point to do the inventory. So we were saying that we were just going to close the store August 1st. Or Friends of Lane is going to close the store August 1st, just so they can do the inventory and some other things, and figure out what needs to be ordered and things like that. So, and then they can decide, we'll see where we are in the process. They may choose to wait to order any sweatshirts and t-shirts with the Indiana until after they've decided, because they don't want to eat that.
Yes.
But yeah, so I would say, yeah, the current plan's not to order more, but go ahead and sell out what we have. And then there's also going back to that, there's also other things in the school, like the WPA art and the fire curtain and school gifts, class gifts. And so there's a lot of layers that will have to be dealt with. But the first issue is seeing if we're going to stay the same or make a change. And then we'll figure out the next process after that.
So
good.
with this committee, will you guys take comment, emails, suggestions before the 14th from anybody from us? Or are you guys just going to figure this out first?
Yeah, I don't think they really need comments. It's,
You know, it's-
I mean, the first part is just as yes or no. Really.
Yeah.
So, and I think there's been, I personally have received tons of emails, and I know Mr. Tennyson has too. So and Matt and Ben and Maureen have been in the school and been around enough to know what people think. So
So I can tell you about my experience with this. I mean, it's been
Yes.
decades in the making for me personally. This is background. Indigenous people identify themselves by tribal citizenry. So for instance, I'm a citizen of the Montauk tribe. So if you ask me, I'll tell you I'm a Montauk. Being indigenous is not a family legend or commercial genealogy test. So it's not the matter of Elizabeth Warren saying that there's a family legend that her mother was told by her grandmother, who was told by her grandmother, and then back it up with the DNA test that says there may be 1,024th descendant of an indigenous people. I went to Weber High School. Those of you who are from Chicago know they were the Red Horde. We had Indian mascots there. I went to Loyola University when the mascot was Bo the Hobo. Bo was a homeless person in shabby clothes, and all his possessions were on a makeshift bag tied to a stick. I was never personally comfortable with either of them. Neither of them educated me about indigenous people or homeless people or the plight of them. If they did anything, they miseducated. I debated this 20 years ago with the U of I with Chief Alenowek. I pointed out to the U of I folks that they did have past traditions at U of I. One of them was a blackface troop, which was school sponsored. Another was a school sponsored hobo parade where people dressed up like homeless hobos and marched around the school. I told them I've never seen a respectful blackface show. I've never seen a respectful hobo parade. And likewise, you remember there were thousands of Lane Tech males that marched in protest of admitting women. Now he brags about his niece who excelled academically and athletically at Lane Tech. We're talking about now around the country, there are statues of other symbols, be it the Confederacy or somebody else, and what they really mean to people who are on the other side of that lost cause. It really is a reinforcement of something it really shouldn't reinforce. Likewise, Native mascots, Native symbolism used by non-natives is basically a reinforcement of manifest destiny. It has a social and psychological reminder that the lands, the culture, even the very likeness of indigenous people no longer belong to them. They belong to somebody else. And the concept that indigenous mascots are used to honor people who, quote, used to live here, or that if we get rid of these, that Native people somehow be forgotten, it kind of speaks for itself. Speaking about indigenous people in the past tense and only portraying them in terms of the past denies the very existence of indigenous people here today in our society, living amongst us, working amongst us, doctors, lawyers, teachers. Fact is, indigenous people are no different, no special than anybody else. we have the same flaws and as everybody else has. If you really want to know about a traditional or particular tribal culture, all you got to do is ask one of them. If you want to know about whether the Potawatomis from Chicago wore feathered headdresses or had totem poles, you can ask them. Their answer is going to be no, it wasn't. It's not part of the woodland tradition of the Chicago indigenous folks. Just lumping all these various characters and making it a pan-indigenous symbol, it kind of undermines the tribal identity that we each hold very dear. And just because people may have not objected in the past, doesn't mean that they consented. We know this from the women's rights movement. We know from the civil rights movement, the LGBTQ movement. Just because people didn't speak out about it in the past doesn't mean that it was okay or that they were all right with it. It's a lot better now, but there is a concept that I taught both of my children, and I'm sure others on this call have taught their children, and that's that no means no. So if you're saying that what you're doing is honoring Native people and they say no, it speaks for itself. The indigenous people have spoken on this, and if they don't feel honored by it, then it's not somebody else's place to tell them, no, you really should be honored by it. 20 years ago, when I was involved in the Chief of Lanawak debate, I not only lost out on a big job opportunity with a law firm that was loaded with the U of I folks, but I also received death threats, and I was put on basically the hit list of William Pierce's National Alliance. So, that's some reason why some people don't speak out. They've got physical threats against them, or they're ostracized. Hopefully it's not as extreme as it was back then. But even reading some of the social media posts, even before the mascot thing came up, there are people who were going on social media and labeling the current Lane Tech students snowflakes and using other derogatory terms for them. That's not right. That doesn't show a love of Lane Tech. I enjoyed my high school days in the 70s and the early 80s. It was fun. I mean, in college was the same. I was on an undefeated football championship team. My high school is no longer there, but I think I can separate the love of my high school days versus pride in my school moving forward. And I can evolve from my days there. So I think this has been a question that's been out there for a long time, and it's not a question of when, but now it's become a question of, or it's not a question of if, but now it's a question of when. I personally believe that the time is upon us to act on this, but yeah, we'll respect everyone's opinion on this. We'll respect the votes of my fellow members on the LSC. But I just want to put it in a context where I have dealt with this for a long time. I do think there should be a process where we gather input and we move on from there. So, thanks.
Matt?
Yep.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you and really appreciated your words.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you, Matt.
Speechless. Thank you very much. All right then. So let's move forward. Let's adjourn for tonight, and we will meet again in a week.
Well, we still had have the opportunity for public comment. Anyone?
Just a lot of people thanking you,
Oh.
and a student wanting to know about the 2021 rings, and that information I assume will be coming in the fall.
Oh, yeah, I want to know about that too. And
It's July.
since I have the floor with the class of 2020, there are some questions about class rings and graduation photos.
Oh, and I did get a lot of questions about, I've seen a lot of questions about this year's yearbook too.
So the yearbooks just came in. We're handing out senior yearbooks on Monday, Tuesday. Then we'll start to hand out the rest of the yearbooks, but it's 4,500 yearbooks. So we have to, there's only, the only people that are in the building that can work are admin. So we have to be stationed at all the doors, so.
Yeah. Okay. And Michael, we also said we don't know about the fall yet. We're waiting for CPS to tell us what's going on. We will keep you. It's okay. We'll let people know as soon as we know anything. All right. So on that note, I will go ahead and do the agenda tonight for next week, just so it's done, because it's only going to be to hear about how the process is, and we'll have to vote on going forward.
I will try to get the minutes done and out by, I don't know, tomorrow or the next day, tomorrow or Thursday. So you can add approval of tonight's minutes onto next week's agenda. And Anna, I will get you, I'll email you separately a copy of the template.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know how to make a transcript. Michael, I will try that. But I motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? So moved. Thank you, everyone. I think we'll be seeing a lot of each other this summer, but at least it will be, I mean, there's pros and cons to it being virtual. But so thank you.
Bye.
Bye. And I'm going to try to figure.
Bye.
Thank you,
Everyone.
everyone.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Anyone know how to send transcripts of the chat group?
Oh, I'm still on.
Yeah.
How do I leave this meeting?
I will close the meeting as soon as.
So I now have it. Matt, amazing job.
Thanks.
Beautiful. Well done. Bye.
Bye.